Hi, how you doing? I'm Jason Debley, and recently a viewer asked me what was the state of my game and wanted an update, which was kind of funny because golf is my second obsession after whiskeys and spirits of the world. And so I'm going to give an update on the status of my golf game. Again, apparently, I think his name is Matt Gee. So, Matt, going to give you a little update. And I thought we'd walk through my bag, kind of like the clubs I got, how I got there. And if this is boring to you, time to switch channels to a whiskey review because this is mostly about golf. So we'll start with the top of the bag, and then we'll work our way down. But before we get there, I should say that as a golfer, I've only been playing seriously, like, I'm in my mid-50s, and I played golf in my 20s. I learned as an adult. I never really took proper lessons till 3 years ago. So I play a couple times a year from my 20s through to my early 50s. And only 3 years ago did I get serious about the game where I played more than 4 or 5 times a year. So 3 years ago I played about 50 times in one summer, and then the next year about 70 times. So I got really hardcore. Now, they weren't all 18 hole rounds. During the week after work, I'd play a quick 9 hole between like 5 and 7. And then on the weekend, I would always play Saturday, Sunday, play 18. And the reason I could get into golf was because my children are teenagers and the oldest is away at university. So the family demands were down. Certainly guys with young children, they're helping out with their partner. They can't do that. So, or remain married if they're doing that. So, that being said, what's my score? So 3 years ago I was shooting and my big goal was to break 100. And by the end of the summer, I broke 100 once or twice, shot like 95, 96 on a very difficult 18-hole course here in Fredericton called the Fredericton Golf Club. Course is about 100 years old. It's tight, it's narrow. It's a good course to learn on in that sense. I broke 100 3 years ago. Next year I just wanted to consistently play in the 90s, and I did. And then this year I'm flirting with breaking 90. So there's playing at the Fredericton Golf Club, 18th hole, which is very difficult, par 5. If I could shoot bogey or double bogey, I would have shot like 89. Of course, I think I posted an 8 or a 9 strokes on that hole, and then my resulting score was 92. My lowest score for 18 holes on that course is 92. So, and other times I've shot 94 or 95. So, to give you an idea, I'm a high handicapper player. I don't track my handicap like I'm a 25 handicap or 20 or whatever. Can't be bothered. I just write down my raw score. Every putt, every chip, every chunk, every top, worm burner gets written down and called a stroke. And to me, that's the way to learn. I've played with guys and they'll say, oh, my handicap's 12. And then I play with them like, I'm better than you, pal. I don't understand the handicap system. I think it's a way for poor golfers to feel better about themselves. Oh, gonna have a little drink while we chat. More Johnny Walker Island Green. As I said in my last review, only available at travel retail, meaning duty free. Certainly not as good as Green Label, the 15-year-old pure malt. This is also a blend of malts, but it's just not as good. It doesn't have that age statement, so the quality's not there. But for $50 US a bottle, worth every penny. I forgot to mention that in the last review. And the other thing about Island Green is that, as another viewer pointed out in a comment, this is more like Johnny Walker Black on steroids. A lot more peated, smoked. It's not like Green Label with those luscious Linkwood and Craigenmore in there, really softening it and giving it a lot of good honey. Okay, need a sip, then back, and I got a glass of water with some lemon in it, and Okay, now the bag. So I'm what you call a high handicapper golfer. My driver. It's Callaway. Oops. It's Callaway Epic Max. 10.5 degree loft. The loft is adjustable. I started also, the other thing I should tell you, is I took lessons. And that's another thing about golf. Golf is not an intuitive game. You think, well, I'm slicing it really bad. I'm going to aim more to the left, so it'll go left. Of course, the more you aim to the left, if you're a right-handed player, the more it's going to slice to the right. Golf is not intuitive, and so you need a coach. You need to go to a pro. You need to take lessons, and I've learned that. And by taking lessons, I've improved as a golfer dramatically. So about this driver, Callaway Epic Max, it's good for someone at my level. It's very forgiving. You're not going to bomb it super far. A guy like me only hits it about 210, 220 if I really shallow my swing. If I don't shallow my swing and it's quite steep, we're looking at 200 yards. But I'm probably not getting the maximum out of this. I tend to have high spin on my ball, and my trajectory is very high because of that steep swing. So I'm trying to shallow my swing. For golfers, you know, you want to keep your right elbow a little closer to the body coming through. And again, not intuitive. Need many lessons on that. But I'm happy with this driver. I like it. Like all guys, I want more distance, and I look at the Epic Max low spin drivers because maybe if you got low spin you get more distance. But my brother-in-law, who's a scratch golfer, he said, you know, it doesn't matter what driver you got in your hand, if you have a negative angle of attack, and you're probably thinking, what is the angle of attack? You know, you want to hit up on the ball when you tee up and hit your drive. And if you're, I can demonstrate here with a golf ball. I play Bridgestone E6 and E12 low compression balls. So you're going to drive the ball. If your driver face is coming down, that's a negative angle of attack. I should demonstrate with a club head, but anyway. But if you're coming up on the ball, that's positive angle of attack. And he said, Jason, if you have a negative angle of attack, which you often do, it doesn't matter if you have a low spin driver, you're not going to get a lot of distance. So work on that positive angle of attack, Jason, and all my friends who are watching this still, if you haven't all turned off. Bridgestone E6, great ball. It's a low compression, so it's got a softer feel. The E12 is good. And the other ball I play with is Srixon, and I like yellow. It just stands out on the fairway. I see it immediately. I don't, especially when I play different or strange courses, I can always find my ball. If it's white, I don't know, it just disappears. So there's a tip on that. I always buy my golf balls on sale, usually in Canada from, it's called Golf Town. So that's the driver. I don't have a 3-wood. So I have found that I really like hybrids, and it may have a lot to do with this steeper swing. You know, I come down on it, I'm working on shallowing it out. When I shallow that swing, I get huge distance. And the club that I just love that replaces any 3-wood, because a 3-wood is difficult to hit, and the difference between a 3-wood and a hybrid generally is the shaft is shorter on the hybrid. And if the shaft is shorter, you're going to be able to control the club head better. It's going to be easier to hit. You know, 3-woods have long shafts, and that makes it more difficult to hit it off the fairway. So this is the Epic Super Hybrid by Callaway. It's just been discontinued. And so you can buy them on Callaway's website, their pre-owned website, and get them at a good discount. These are very expensive hybrids. One reviewer said online that they're like mini drivers because the face on it's titanium, like on a high-end driver. And it's also adjustable. You can adjust the loft up or down and make it draw or standard, whatever you want for that. And So, I was buying these in Canada, paying $400 each. Yikes. But I have no buyer's remorse. Incredibly forgiving. And they go super far, pretty straight, pretty good tight dispersion. You're not going to spray as much left or right, and really easy to hit. This is a 2 hybrid. It's 16 degrees. I could turn it down to 15, and love it. Like, I hit this about off the fairway because I'm high handicapper, like 180 to 190. Once in a while, I'll crank it out 200 if the stars line up. So the super hybrid clubs by Callaway, love them to death. They're going to be in my bag like forever. I'm not switching those guys out. So I've got it in the 2, 3, 4, 5, and even a 6 hybrid by Super Hybrid. They replace a conventional iron because they're more consistent, easier to hit, better distance, just way better for me. They work so beautifully. Then I have a 7 hybrid. Now, a 7 hybrid is basically to replace a 7 iron. And I hit this okay. I hit it pretty good. I hit this about 135. Pretty straight, good loft. Really, it's consistent. And I've been toying with going to a 7 iron just because 7 hybrid's kind of odd to have in the bag. I used to have an 8 hybrid, but the offset was so severe, I got rid of it because it really was distracting and it caused me to hook shots, and I just didn't like it. And that was a Callaway. So this is a Callaway Rogue ST Max, oversized. I may switch to an iron, 7 iron. I gotta kind of like test a few on the range and on the course. Haven't done that yet. But from 6 iron up, it's all hybrids. I have no regrets, and I think a lot of high handicap golfers like me would benefit from sticking with hybrids or trying them, because hitting a 4 iron, like I used to have my bag full of Mizunos back in the day. They were MX 23 or 25, I can't remember, forged face, cavity back. And then I had, I think, some other Mizunos. Mizunos, if you hit it in sweet spot, it's like butter, it's addictive, it's beautiful. But hitting it in sweet spot is hard to do. A guy like me can probably play 18 holes and hit it in the sweet spot maybe 5 times. And the rest of the time is vibrating up my arm. And with a 4 iron or a 3 iron on the fairway, I am not getting 180 yards. I'm not getting 190 yards. There's just no way. But with a hybrid, it's very consistent, more friendly. So that's my lecture on that. That being said, I still, all the time, look at Mizuno MP20, which is a pure blade, Titleist Muscleback, or MB. I see them used on eBay for like, I don't know, $300. And I think, like, maybe I'll just buy a set and hit them at the range. And like, because that forged feel is incredible. And maybe, if I played with them enough, I could dial it in. But logic and all the information on the internet and in books tells me, no, Jason, blades are not for you. But I think I'm going to eventually buy a set of like, a used set of Titleist Musclebacks, or the CB, maybe the cavity back, because I just love that forged feel. And I just want to play around with it. Wouldn't play a serious game with it, that's for sure. Now, into the irons. I'm playing a Titleist T300. So, Titleist, as you probably know if you know anything about golf, Titleist is really, for the more serious golfer, a player's iron. And by player's iron, I mean, mid to low handicap, like handicaps at 12 and below. But Titleist have reached out to my demographic, ordinary guys and ladies. And this is a cavity back design, and the T300 is a lot easier to hit. What drew me to it was, believe it or not, earlier this summer, I had a bag full of, iron replacement hybrids by a company called Wedgwood. And so I still have the Wedgwood the Wedgwood sand wedge to get out of the sand. Come on, fight with me. So I had earlier, very early in the summer, I had this club. It's really weird, an American company called Wedgwood. And what they do is they make a hybrid in lower lofts, like right down to a lob wedge. And this is their sand wedge. And I find this really easy to get out of the bunker, like tremendously easy. Pop it out. And actually with quite a bit of backspin, surprisingly. And it's probably because, again, I got that steep downswing. So I used to have Wedgwood gap wedge, pitching wedge, 9, 8, 7, and I was hooking them. I was pulling them to the left, and I wasn't getting good distance. And it was really frustrating because I am a serious golfer in the sense that, like, I want to play well and I don't want to embarrass myself. And I wasn't getting decent distance. So one day I was kind of frustrated. I think I had to hit like an 8-iron into a green. I hit this Wedgwood 8 and it came up short. It came up really short. And I was just like, I'm done with these clubs. And my buddy was playing Titleist AP1s or AP2s. And so I started using, you know, he and I would be side by side. Often we were good guys to play in a cart because our balls tend to be in the same area. So he's standing next to me. I said, "Can I have one of your Titleist AP2s? I'm gonna use that 8-iron." And of course, it just sailed to the green. But for the rest of the round, I used the Titleist short irons. Just borrowed them from him. And then after the round, I said, "I'm gonna get a set of Titleist." Or up to 8 because, again, 7, 6, I like the hybrid. So I got the Titleist T300s, and what I found about them was distance control, very consistent, better distance, and dispersion was tighter. So, like, I wasn't spraying my ball left or right. Like, if I was aiming into the green, aiming at the pin, it'd go straight. Now, it all has to do with the user, too, but... So I like Titleist T300. It's not a forged iron, it's cabbed back cast iron, and it's they're not cheap, but they're really good. Next. Oh, so I got like the 8, 9 pitching wedge. Now their pitching wedge is 43-degree loft. And that's quite a strong pitching wedge. So I also got the 48-degree gap wedge. And then their second wedge at 53 degrees. And then when you go to a sand wedge, I've got that Wedgwood sand wedge. And Wedgwood's this little company. They got a couple of videos on YouTube. And out of the sand right now, out of the bunker, works every time. Just works beautifully. Not going to get rid of it. It's not a fancy club. I just don't think I need a vote